The florist needed a wire transfer by noon. The venue wanted proof of insurance. The string quartet asked for the revised set list with the father-daughter song. I sent it all quietly because if Dad was finally going to be happy, I'd make it happen. Then Meredith, my stepmom, looked me in the eye at the rehearsal dinner and said, "You weren't even invited." I smiled, checked my phone, and flipped the first switch. My name is Taylor Fisher. I am 32 years old. I live in Denver, and I'm a freelance event producer. And the first sound I hear on the morning of my father's wedding is not an alarm clock, but the sterile ding of a high-priority email. I don't even need to open my eyes to know the sound. It's the alert I assign to final invoices and payment confirmations. I slide my thumb across the phone screen, the blue light stinging in the pre-dawn darkness of my bedroom. The email is from Boulder Blooms. The subject line: Final invoice, Fisher Grant Wedding, due EOD. I squint at the PDF attachment, thousands of dollars for white peonies, garden roses, and the specific, non-negotiable eucalyptus Meredith demanded. My gaze drifts to the Bill Toe section. It doesn't say Taylor Fisher. It says Cedar Finch Events LLC. That's my company, my small, scrappy, finally profitable company that I built from nothing. For the past 6 months, I have been laundering my father's wedding through my own business accounts. I used my exclusive vendor discounts, leveraged supplier relationships I've spent a decade building, and floated the deposits on my corporate credit line. I cashed in 3 years of Amex points to cover the string quartet. I got the venue, a glass-walled marvel overlooking the Rockies, for 30% off the rack rate, because I send them 6 figures in corporate business every year. I did it all under the Cedar Finch name. My name scrubbed from every document, for one simple reason: if my name was on it, Meredith would call it help. She would see it as a contribution, a daughter's duty. But if an LLC was paying, it was a professional service she had secured. It was her victory. It was the only way to get it done without the fight, without her turning my involvement into a weapon. Complaining that I was trying to take over, my phone buzzes again. This time, it's a text. Dad. The message reads, "Morning. Tay. Just wanted to check in. Please don't feel like you have to spend a lot on a gift. Meredith has handled everything, every last detail. She's amazing. See you tomorrow night. Meredith has handled everything." A familiar, dull pressure builds behind my breastbone. I look at the floral invoice on my laptop screen. I look at the text from my father. I type back a single word. Okay. Then I open my business banking portal, select the Boulder Blooms invoice, and hit Send Payment. The final one, the last major outstanding bill. It's done. The entire wedding is now paid in full. I'm about to close the laptop when another notification pops up in the corner of my screen. This one isn't an email. It's a secure alert from my bank. Action required. Additional documentation is needed to verify a supplementary card issued to a new officer on your account. My blood runs cold. I have no officers on my account. I am the sole proprietor. I click the alert. The portal opens to a secure messaging center. A digital form is waiting. Please upload verification documents for the supplementary card issued to Meredith Fisher. I stare at the name, Meredith Fisher. She isn't even Meredith Fisher yet. The wedding is tomorrow. My hands are shaking, but my training takes over. I don't get angry. I get methodical. I open a new tab. I call the business fraud department number on the back of my card. The hold music is a terrible, synthesized version of a pop song, and it drills into my skull as I wait. Finally, a human voice. And First Corporate Services. This is David. How can I help you? Hello. David, my name is Taylor Fisher. My business is Cedar Finch Events, LLC. I've just received an alert about a supplementary card issued to a Meredith Fisher, and I have never authorized this. I am the only person authorized on this account. David's typing is fast. Yes, ma'am. I see the card right here. It was issued 3 weeks ago following a televerification. One moment. A televerification. I never spoke to anyone. I see here the authorization was provided over the phone on, one moment, October 12th. The caller verified your date of birth and the last 4 digits of your social security number. That was not me. I say, my voice flat. I need that card locked immediately, and I need to know what charges are on it. Of course, ho. Ma'am, I am locking the card as we speak. Okay, that's frozen. As for the charges, wow. It looks like there was a significant charge at a Belle Lueur Bridal Boutique 2 days ago, and several charges at various online retailers, totaling just over $9,000. My stomach turns to ice. That must have been the dress. The dress she told my father her sister was paying for. David, I say, keeping my voice perfectly level. I need to hear the recording of that authorization call. Ma'am, that usually requires a formal escalation. David, I am telling you this is fraud. My father is marrying this woman tomorrow. I'm looking at my accounts right now, and I can confirm I have paid for nearly 100% of this wedding. This woman has just used my identity to steal $9,000. I need to hear that tape. The silence on the line stretches. More typing. Understood. As this is an active fraud claim, I can play the verification portion of the call for you. Please hold. The hold music clicks off. A new, tinnier recording begins. And can you please state your full name and date of birth for verification? Asks a generic call center voice. Then, I hear it. A woman's voice, slightly high-pitched, affecting a professional. Hurried tone. Yes. Taylor Ann Fisher. Date of birth. May 4th, 1992. It's not my voice. Not really. It's impersonating my voice. But the date is perfect. The confidence is chilling. Thank you. Ms. Fisher. And you are authorizing a supplementary card for Meredith Fisher. Correct? Yes. That's right. She's my new COO. Just send it to the address on file. Very good. The card is approved. The recording ends. David comes back on the line. Fisher, as you can hear, the caller provided correct verification data. That was not me. I repeat. But I know exactly how she got it. The image flashes into my mind, sharp and sudden. The kitchen table in our old house. 20 years ago. I'm 12. Meredith has been with my dad for about a year. She's all smiles and helpfulness, sitting across from me, her pen hovering over a stack of papers. Let me help you with this, sweetie, she'd said, her voice dripping with saccharine concern. This college paperwork is so confusing. You just fill in the basics. I'll handle the financial parts for your dad, the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, my first high-stakes form. It had my name, my address, my date of birth, and my social security number. She had helped me fill it out, and she had kept a copy, all these years. She had just kept it, waiting. Ms. Fisher, David says, pulling me back. Yes, I'm here. Please file the official fraud claim. I will cooperate fully. I want all supplementary card access on my account permanently disabled, effective immediately. Yes, ma'am, it's done. We finish the call. I hang up and sit in the silence of my apartment. The sun is starting to rise, casting a sick gray light on the floor. The fury is so cold and so total that it's almost peaceful. I open a new file on my laptop, a blank spreadsheet. I name it, Who Paid? I go back through my bank statements, my Amex statements, my vendor email folders, for the next hour. I populate the spreadsheet. Column A vendor, column B service, column C amount paid, column D payer, Boulder Blooms, floral, 22,000, Cedar Finch LLC, Mountain View Glass House, venue rental, 40,000, Cedar Finch LLC, Epicurean Catering, Food Bev, 38,000, Cedar Finch LLC, Strings of the Rockies, Ceremony Music, 4,000, Cedar Finch LLC, via Amex Points, Top Shelf Bar Service, Alcohol, 15,000, Cedar Finch LLC, Belle Lueur Bridal, Wardrobe, 9,000 Fraudulent, Meredith Fisher. On and on it goes. The cake, the lighting, the insurance, the rentals. I create a pie chart. A dark gray slice represents the fraudulent dress purchase. A tiny, almost invisible sliver represents a few $100s Meredith paid for custom napkins on Etsy. The The rest of it, a massive, overwhelming blue, represents my company. I run the numbers. 98%. 98% of the major costs for this perfect wedding that Meredith handled were paid by me. My phone screen lights up again. It's the vendor group chat, the one I created to coordinate everyone. Meredith isn't in it. She doesn't have time for all those little details. The chat is named Bridal Dream Team. Marcus bandleader, morning team stage, and sound check-in still good for 4 p.m. producer. Can you confirm? I look at the word producer. That's my title. It's what I am. My fingers move quickly. I type back a professional. Courteous reply. Confirmed. Marcus, 4 p.m. is locked. AV Tech will meet you at the loading dock. See you then. I sign it simply, Taylor Fisher. Producer. I close the chat. I close the spreadsheet. I open my photo gallery. I scroll back 1 month. There it is. The screenshot Tiffany, Meredith's daughter, had posted on Instagram before quickly deleting it. It was a picture of the physical invitation. Thick cardstock, gold foil, elegant script. Graham Fisher and Meredith Grant request the pleasure of your company at their wedding. I scroll down the digital guest list that had been attached for the online RSVP. A-list, B-list, family, friends, colleagues. My finger stops. Fisher, Graham, Grant, Meredith, Grant, Tiffany. My name isn't there. I was not on the guest list for the wedding I had just finished paying for. I look at the screenshot. I look at the spreadsheet. I think of the voice on the phone call. I think of my dad's text. Meredith has handled everything. A slow, cold smile spreads across my face. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just clear. The wedding is going to happen. It is going to be flawless. I am, after all, the producer. Every light will hit its cue. Every song will play on time. Every flower will be perfect. I will let this perfect event proceed. Funded by my work, built on my reputation, and stolen by her. And then, at the precise, professionally scheduled moment, the truth will come out. The final invoice will be presented. I spend the rest of that day in my home office. My anger has cooled and hardened, settling into the familiar, precise rhythm of professional execution. In my world, emotion is a liability. Contracts are armor. I'm not a daughter right now. I am a producer, and I am reviewing the production binder. I pull up the master contract for the venue, the Mountain View Glass House. It's a 40-page document, dense with legalese. I skip immediately to the addendums I negotiated myself 8 months ago. Back when Meredith was still deciding between champagne gold and blush napkins, I find the clause I'm looking for, Clause 12.2. I read the words I insisted on, the ones the venue's legal team tried to strike. The primary payer defined herein as Cedar Finch Events, LLC retains final approval authority over any and all day of logistical, technical, audio-visual, and scheduling changes, regardless of requests made by the client defined herein as Graham Fisher and Meredith Grant. Meredith thinks she is the client. She's only half right. She and my father are the face of the event. Cedar Finch Events is the payer, and in the specialized world of high-end events, the one who signs the checks holds the kill switch. Next, I open the Certificate of Insurance, the COI. It's a multi-million-dollar liability policy, a non-negotiable requirement for any event at this level. I scan the declaration page. My eyes land on the box labeled Additional Insured. The venue is listed, as required, and right below it, as the secondary insured party and primary policyholder, Cedar Finch Events, LLC, ATN Taylor Fisher. Meredith's name is not on the insurance. My father's name is not on the insurance. Legally speaking, if a guest trips over a poorly placed floral arrangement, if the champagne tower collapses, if a freak hailstorm shatters the glass roof, the liability rests entirely with the venue and the producer, me. She is, in the cold, hard language of the law, just a high-priority guest at an event I am insuring. A new email pings in my inbox. It's from Epicurean Catering. The subject line, Urgent FB Adjustment. I open it. Hi, Taylor. Just flagging a last-minute verbal request from this morning. Meredith Fisher called our office and requested an upgrade from the approved Prosecco to Veuve Clicquot for the main toast. This will add approximately $3,000 to the final FB bill. Please advise if Cedar Finch approves this additional charge. We need confirmation by 2 p.m. to secure the stock. $3,000 for bubbles that will be consumed in 5 minutes. My hand hovers over the keyboard. I could decline it. Clause 12.2 gives me full authority. It would be a small, petty cut. It would humiliate her when the bartenders pour the cheaper, already paid-for Italian sparkling wine. But I think of my dad. He doesn't deserve that. The goal is not to ruin the wedding. The goal is to claim it. A perfect event requires perfect champagne. I type back a single line. Approved. Please proceed and invoice Cedar Finch Events. Then, I meticulously save the email chain. I open my master event budget spreadsheet. I add a new line item, Champagne Upgrade Veuve Clicquot, in the Requested By column. I type M. Fisher. In the Paid By column, I type Cedar Finch LLC. The ledger grows, line by line. I move on to the media contracts, the videographer. Cinema Verve had sent their package options months ago. Meredith had forwarded me their brochure with a note. Taylor, just handle this. Pick the cheapest one. Dad won't care. I didn't pick the cheapest one. I picked the Twilight Vow package. It was obscenely expensive, but it included 2 crucial add-ons I had insisted on: full raw footage rights and the father of the bride interview session. I pull up that contract. Clause 4. All unedited raw footage, B-roll, and associated audio files remain the exclusive intellectual property of the primary payer Cedar Finch Events for personal use. The client, Fisher Grant, will receive the finalized, edited wedding film only, post-payment. This means I will own the footage of the ceremony. I will own the high-definition footage of her smiling, taking credit, and I will own the footage of my dad, sitting down for a private, one-on-one interview, which I have scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, just before the ceremony. An interview Meredith, in her flurry of handling everything, doesn't even know is on the schedule. The technical backbone of the event is just as secure. The AV system at the Glass House is a state-of-the-art digital console, run from a dedicated tech booth overlooking the main hall. I've already done the tech walkthrough. The access code to that master board is 6 digits, a 6-digit PIN that I set 2 weeks ago. The lead technician, a guy named Ben whom I've worked with a dozen times, knows the protocol. He and his team take their cues from one person, and one person only, the producer. They don't care who the bride is. They care who signs their timesheet. If Meredith screams at him to change the music or turn up the lights, Ben will not touch a single fader until he gets confirmation on his headset from me. I am the ghost in the machine, as if summoned by the thought of her. My phone buzzes. It's a Facebook notification. Meredith has tagged my father in a new post. The photo is a soft focus, professionally lit selfie of her and my dad, clinking champagne glasses. The caption is nauseating. I am just so overwhelmed with joy and gratitude, putting together this absolute dream wedding with my own 2 hands, obsessing over every little detail, has been the honor of my life. I can't wait to finally marry my soulmate tomorrow. Feeling so blessed. With her own 2 hands, the lie is so audacious, so breathtakingly false, it almost makes me laugh. She didn't lift a finger. She didn't source a vendor, review a contract, or pay a bill. She stole $9,000. I take a screenshot. I save it to the secure cloud folder I created this morning. The folder is labeled simply Evidence, but Meredith's PR campaign isn't just digital, it's analog. My phone rings. It's not a vendor this time. It's my father's aunt, Diane, a kind, slightly gossipy woman who always remembered my birthday. Taylor, honey, is that you? Hi, Aunt Diane. What's up? She sounds nervous. Her voice hushed. Listen, honey, I'm not supposed to be calling you about this, but I'm at the hotel, and, well, some of the groom's family are here for the rehearsal check-in, and Meredith has been talking. I wait. I know exactly where this is going. She's been telling people, well, she's telling everyone that you're not doing well, that you're emotionally unstable right now. She said you had a big falling out over money, that you were jealous, and that, well, that it's probably best if you don't come tomorrow, to avoid any unnecessary drama. Unstable, the word hits me like a physical blow. It's her signature move, her weapon of choice for any woman who challenges her. My mother, in the final, agonizing days of her illness, was unstable. The florist who refused to use out-of-season peonies was unstable. Now, it's my turn. Thank you for letting me know. Diane, I say, my voice perfectly level. I appreciate you telling me. Are you okay, honey? You don't sound... I'm a professional, Diane. I'll see you tomorrow. I hang up. So that's the narrative. I am the crazy's jealous daughter. She is the long-suffering bride, protecting her perfect, handcrafted day from my drama. It's a good story. Plausible. Emotional. But my story has spreadsheets. My story has bank statements. The cognitive dissonance is deafening. Every family communication I see is designed to erase me, while every business communication I have confirms my total control. My father is caught in the crossfire, and he's starting to sense that the numbers don't add up. A new text comes in from him. He must be hearing the rumors. 2. Tay Meredith just told me the caterer upgraded the champagne for free as a wedding gift. Isn't that wonderful? I look at the $3,000 invoice I just approved. I look at his text. He's not stupid. He's just blinded by the idea of happiness. He wants to believe her narrative. I take a screenshot of the catering email chain. The one that says, Meredith Fisher called this morning requesting an upgrade. This will add approximately $3,000. Please advise if Cedar Finch approves. I text him the screenshot. I add no comment, no explanation, just the image. He doesn't reply for an hour. When he does, it's a different, more hesitant question. Taylor, are you sure Meredith is handling all the payments? She seems stressed about money, but she keeps saying it's all taken care of. I open my Who Paid spreadsheet. I screenshot the pie chart, the one showing the sliver of Meredith, the fraudulent dress, and the massive dominant blue of Cedar Finch events. 98%. I text him the pie chart. Again, no comment. I'm not going to argue with him. I'm not going to fight Meredith's PR campaign with my own. The facts are the facts. The ledger is the ledger. I have one last piece of preparation. I open the staging contract addendum for the band and AV technician. I add one final clause. Addendum 4.3, all ceremony and reception background music, including but not limited to prelude, processional, and special designated dances, will be sourced directly from a master digital file provided by the producer Cedar Finch Events. This means the band won't just play their standard set. The DJ won't just take requests from the crowd. They will play the specific, high-quality audio tracks I provide. In the order I set. I finalize the playlist. I drag the audio files onto a new, encrypted USB drive. I label it Ceremony V3. Meredith has her PR. She has the rumors. She has the title of bride. But I have the insurance, the checkbook, the raw footage, the AV pin code, and the encrypted playlist. The family story is hers. The accounting is mine. And tomorrow night, the accounting is the only story that will matter. The rehearsal dinner is on the hotel's glass-enclosed rooftop, a space I secured for a 60% discount by booking it on a Thursday. It's exactly what Meredith wanted, ostentatiously expensive, filled with warm spotlights reflecting off hundreds of wine glasses, the laughter from the guests, mostly her friends and distant family I've never met. Sounds brittle, echoing too loudly off the glass walls. I'm standing near the bar, nursing a sparkling water, watching the performance. I see her move across the room, a glide perfected over decades. Meredith, wearing an ivory satin dress that hangs perfectly on her frame. It's probably the dress, the $9,000 dress. She leaves a trail of her perfume, a heavy, sweet gardenia that always chokes the air. The one she started wearing the month after my mother died. She stops directly in front of me, her smile bright and hard. My father is trailing a few steps behind her, looking nervous. "Taylor," Meredith says, her voice a low, confidential murmur, as if we're sharing a delightful secret. "I'm so glad I found you. I just need to let you know about tomorrow night." I wait. I don't sip my water. I don't move. "You can't be there," she says. "You're not coming." She says it with the same casual air she might use to tell me they've run out of chicken. My father shuffles, his gaze fixed on a point somewhere over my left shoulder. "It's just," she continues, tilting her head with a look of practiced sympathy. "It's going to be a very emotional day, and Tiffany is so sensitive." She gestures vaguely toward her daughter, who is taking selfies by the fireplace. "She just really hates negative energy. We can't risk any drama on our special day. I knew you'd understand." Drama. The word she uses to define any consequence of her own actions. Negative energy. The term she uses for anyone who doesn't buy her narrative. I let the silence hang in the air. A heavy, humid thing. I watch her smile falter. Just a fraction. She expected tears. She expected yelling. That would have fed her story. That would have proven I was unstable. "I understand," I say. My voice is flat, empty, a clean, hard surface she can't get a grip on. Inside my head, the ledger runs, venue contract, paid in full, catering deposit, paid, final installment, paid, floral invoice, paid, insurance policy, bound and active, the wedding is paid for. My calmness seems to unnerve her more than any outburst could have. My father finally speaks, his voice thick with discomfort. "Taylor, honey, we just talked about it. Tomorrow it's for peace, just for the family." "I see," I say, my voice just as level. I am looking at my father, but he won't meet my eyes. He is a man caught in a trap of his own making, desperate to believe the fantasy he's been sold. Meredith's smile snaps back into place. This was too easy. She thinks she's won. She reaches into her small, glittering clutch bag and pulls out 2 folded sheets of paper and a slim, expensive-looking pen. "I am so glad you're being mature about this," she says, her voice dripping with false magnanimity. "We were so worried." She unfolds the paper. It's not a note. It's a document. "What is this?" I ask. "Oh, just a little formality," she says, waving her hand dismissively. "It's a simple non-disparagement agreement. It just says you won't, cause any trouble or spread any of those hurtful, unfounded rumors." She holds it out to me. "You sign it," she says, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "And we'll forget all about this. We can put this whole, difficult period behind us. You can even come. We'll find you a seat. Maybe just for the last hour, after the ceremony and the dinner are over, for the final dance." She is offering to sell me a ticket to the wedding I bought. My hand is steady as I take the document. I read it. The title is Event Confidentiality and Financial Release Agreement. I've read enough vendor contracts to spot the poison pill. The language is dense, but the intent is clear. It forbids me from disparaging Meredith or my father, publicly or privately. But the real venom is in paragraph 3. It states that the signer me agrees to waive any and all claims, financial or otherwise, related to the planning, execution, or financing of the Fisher Grant wedding, dated November 5th. It's not an NDA, it's a waiver, it's a confession. If I sign this, I am legally stating that I have no financial stake. I am absolving her of the $9,000 fraudulent charge. I am erasing my company from the record. I am agreeing, in writing, that her story is the true one. I look up from the paper. I meet her expectant, triumphant gaze. I smile. I take the pen from her fingers. I feel the cool, heavy metal in my hand. I poise it just above the signature line, the one labeled Taylor A. Fisher. Meredith's whole body relaxes. She thinks she has me. Then, very slowly, I place the pen down on the document, right next to the empty line. I slide the papers and the pen back across the smooth surface of the bar until they are resting in front of her. No, I say. It's the only word I speak. It is quiet, but it cuts through the laughter and the music. My father flinches. Meredith's face, the practiced mask of the loving bride, cracks. For one brief, satisfying second, I see the raw, unfiltered rage beneath. Her mouth opens, her eyes narrow. "Producer, there you are." "Oh, thank goodness." A man with 2 camera bodies strapped to his chest hustles over to our tense little circle. It's Kenji, the head photographer from Cinema Verve, the one whose Twilight Vow package I approved. He completely ignores Meredith and my father. His focus is entirely on me. "Hey, I'm so sorry to bother you at the dinner," he says, all business. "But I just wanted to confirm the shot list for tomorrow. You still want the private father of the bride interview at 16:30, before the first look with Meredith, correct, in the library?" I nod, keeping my expression professional. "That's correct. Kenji, hard stop at 1700. I need you in position for the bridal party arrival at 17:15. "Got it. And the AV team knows we're tapping their main soundboard for the ceremony audio." "Already handled," I say. "Ben's team has the junction box ready for you. Just patch in when you arrive." "You're a lifesaver, Taylor. Seriously," he says, giving me a grateful grin. "Best producer in Denver. See you tomorrow." He taps me on the shoulder and vanishes back into the crowd, already framing his next shot. I turn back. Meredith is staring at me. Her face is pale, her mouth slightly open. The confusion is warring with her anger. "Producer," she whispers. The word sounds foreign, ugly in her mouth. My father looks completely lost. "What was that?" he asks, looking from me to Meredith. "What interview? What's he talking about?" I don't answer him. I pick up my glass of sparkling water and take a small, deliberate sip. "Have a wonderful evening," I say, my voice calm and bright. I set the glass down. I walk away from them. I don't look back to see if they are following me. I move through the laughing, drinking crowd past the string quartet playing a song I selected, under the bistro lights I paid for. I step out of the noisy warmth of the rooftop and into the cool, quiet hallway. The elevator doors slide open. As I step inside, I pull out my phone. The stainless steel doors close, and I am alone, watching my own reflection. My fingers fly across the screen. First, I open my calendar. I create a new event for the following morning, 7 a.m. Re-event security and access. I add 2 attendees myself, and Kyle Jensen, the general manager of the hotel, a man I've worked with for 8 years and who sends my company a very expensive bottle of whiskey every Christmas. Second, I open my secure file drive. I download the entire evidence folder, the bank statements, the pie chart, the call log from the fraud department, the screenshots of Meredith's Facebook posts. I walk out of the hotel, not to my apartment, but to my office. The building is dark and silent. I turn on my main desk lamp. The only sound is the low hum of my commercial-grade printer as it wakes up. For the next hour, I print every single page, every contract, every addendum, every invoice marked "paid in full," the email chain with the caterer about the Veuve Clicquot, with the line, "Requested by Ma Fisher," the certificate of insurance, with Cedar Finch Events LLC, listed as the primary insured, the signed AV agreement, the transcript from the bank's fraud department. The high-resolution, time-stamped screenshot of Meredith's Facebook post. I did it all with my own 2 hands. And finally, the screenshot of the wedding invitation, the one that does not have my name on it. I 3-hole punch every single page. The sharp, percussive thunk, thunk, thunk of the punch is the only sound in the vast, dark office. It is a steady, mechanical rhythm. I take a new, 1-inch black binder from the supply closet. I slide a custom-printed cover sheet into the clear plastic sleeve. It has 2 words on it, centered in a clean, bold, 24-point font. Who paid? I snap the binder ring shut. The sound is final. It is heavy in my hands, a solid, tangible object. It is not an argument. It is not a story. It is a ledger. And tomorrow, the accounts will be settled. I wake up at 5 a.m. on the wedding day. I don't need an alarm. Show day. My blood is humming with a cold. Clear focus. Before I even make coffee, I check my alerts. My phone, plugged in on the nightstand, is illuminated with notifications. The smear campaign has begun. I have a Google alert set for my company name. Cedar Finch Events, it's pinging. The link leads to Yelp, 3 new reviews, all posted between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., all 1 star. The first is from Jessica M. The text reads, "Completely unprofessional. I hired Taylor Fisher for my event and she was a nightmare. She tried to take money and then became emotionally unstable when questioned. Had to fire her. Avoid at all costs." The second, from Brian W. "This planner canceled on us at the last minute, left us completely stranded just days before our wedding. She is erratic and you can't trust her. We are still trying to get our deposit back." The third, from Karen S. "My friend used Cedar Finch and said the planner was unstable. She kept trying to take credit for things the family paid for and caused a huge fight. I would never recommend her. Seems mentally unwell." Unstable, mentally unwell, erratic. There they are. Her keywords. The same words she used to describe Aunt Diane's concerns. The same narrative she was building. This is Meredith's voice, clumsy and furious, filtered through 3 hastily created fake accounts. She must have been up all night, seeding the internet with her story, trying to destroy my reputation before the guests even arrived. I feel nothing. This isn't an insult. It's evidence. My movements are methodical. I screenshot every review. I check the metadata, time-stamping each file. I open my laptop and draft a clean, professional email to Yelp's Trust and Safety Department. Subject: formal complaint. Libelous and coordinated fraudulent reviews for Cedar Finch Events, LLC. I attach the screenshots. I attach the timestamps. I attach the certificate of insurance for the event I am producing tonight. I attach the fully executed venue contract. My email states, clearly and without emotion, that my business is the victim of a coordinated, libelous attack by a third party attempting to preemptively discredit my financial claims related to an event scheduled for this evening. I hit send. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's a text message, a number I don't recognize. "You think you're smart, don't you? You are a sick, jealous little bitch. If you show your face tonight, you will be sorry. Don't come." The crude language, the all caps. This isn't Meredith. This is Tiffany. Sloppy, impulsive, and stupid. I block the number. I don't reply. I pick up my phone and swipe down. I tap the Do Not Disturb icon. The little moon crescent glows. Then I go into the settings. I create an exception group. I add Kyle, the hotel manager. I add Marcus, the band leader. I add Kenji, the videographer. I add the lead caterer and the head florist. My father's number remains outside the circle. Meredith's number is already blocked. The digital noise ceases. The only thing that can reach me now is the event itself. At 6:50 a.m., I am walking through the service entrance of the Mountain View Glass House. I'm dressed in my standard event day uniform, black technical pants, black boots, a black zip-up jacket with the small, discreet Cedar Finch Events logo on the chest. I'm carrying my laptop bag and the heavy 1-inch black binder. Kyle Jensen, the hotel's general manager, is in his office, just as I knew he would be. He looks up from a stack of spreadsheets. "Taylor," he says, nodding. "You're early. That means something's on fire." "Not fire. Kyle, just locking down the controls," I say. I sit across from him. We've done millions of dollars in business together. There's no need for pleasantries. The bride, Meredith Grant, is operating under the assumption that she has final say on technical and logistical matters. Kyle sips his coffee. "She doesn't. You're the payer of record. Your LLC is on the contract. You hold the insurance policy. The house rules are clear. The producer on the policy is God. She's just the talent. What's the problem?" "The problem," I say, "is that she personally uninvited me from the event last night. She is telling the family I am unstable and not to let me in." Kyle's eyebrows shoot up. He leans back, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Oh, she did. Did she? Well, That's a new one? Taylor, your company is legally and financially responsible for every single person in that building tonight. Our liability insurance is contingent on your liability insurance. If you aren't on site, I can't let the event proceed. She doesn't get a wedding unless you are here to run it. That's what I needed to hear, I say. I need your assurance that your front of house and security teams will run any guest list disputes through you, not her, and that the AV team answers only to me. Already done, Kyle says. Ben and his tech crew know the protocol. They only take cues from the producer with the master credentials. And right now, that's you. Good. One last thing. I lean forward. She's tech-savvy enough to be dangerous. I want the password for the production Wi-Fi changed, the one that runs the boards. Kyle nods, understanding immediately. That private network controls the lighting cues, the soundboard, the microphones, and the projectors. If she got that password, she could try to cut the feed. He types for a new few seconds. Done. New network is CFE/PROD locked. I'll write the password down for you and Ben's team. No one else gets it. As I stand to leave, he says, Taylor, good luck. Sounds like you'll need it. I don't need luck, Kyle, I reply. I have the contracts. I spend the next 3 hours in the empty ballroom. It's my church. I watch the sun hit the glass walls, watch the florists begin to arrive, watch the caterers polish thousands of glasses. I'm at my command center, a small, draped table in the back corner, laptop open, headset on. I open the digital seating chart file. Meredith had insisted on it, a fancy app that let guests see their table. At each place setting, a small, elegant card was to be placed, printed with a QR code. Meredith had sent me the link for the code 3 days ago. This is for our honeymoon donation fund, her email said. Make sure it's prominent. I had tested her link. It led to a cheap-looking website asking for cash. Now, I open the QR code generator. I delete her honeymoon fund URL. In its place, I type a new, hidden URL I created on my own website last night. The page is stark, elegant, and professional. The title, A Special Thank You to the Sponsors Production Team of the Fisher Grant Wedding. It's not the full binder of invoices. It's just a simple, rolling credit list, like at the end of a movie. Venue Mountain View Glass House. Catering Epicurean Catering, Floral Design, Boulder Blooms, Music Strings of the Rockies, Lighting Sound, Apex AV. And at the very top, in the largest font on the page, Primary Underwriter Event Production, Cedar Finch Events, LLC. Producer Taylor Fisher. It is a simple, factual statement. I go into the web page's settings. I schedule the page to go from private to public at exactly 6:45 p.m. Guests are scheduled to be seated at 6:30. The ceremony starts at 7. For 15 minutes, they will be sitting at their tables, phones in hand, idly scanning the pretty little QR code that they believe is a gift link. The countdown is now set. I check my bag. The black binder is secure. Beside it, my primary show day USB drive, labeled Ceremony V3. It's my failsafe. It contains every piece of music for the night, perfectly timed. The prelude, the processional, the song for the mothers, the recessional, and track 7. Labeled Father-Daughter Alt. Meredith had sent me a syrupy generic pop song for the father-daughter dance. I had ignored it. Track 7 is an instrumental acoustic version of a James Taylor song my dad used to sing to me. It's our song. It's my backup plan. A new message flashes in my whitelisted vendor group chat. It's from the florist. Florist Taylor. Urgent. I'm at the loading dock. Meredith's 6 upgraded aisle centerpieces. The big ones are on the truck. The supplemental invoice was never paid. It's $2,800. She confirmed the upgrade by phone, but the charge never went through. I can't unload them without payment. My boss will kill me. I see the trap. This is her last-minute power play. She stiffed the florist, knowing I would be the one to get the call. If I refuse to pay, the aisle is bare, the wedding looks cheap, and it's the unstable producer's fault. If I pay, she gets her flowers, and I'm out another $3,000. I open my corporate banking app. My fingers fly. My text to the florist. Do not, under any circumstances, contact the bride. I am wiring the $2,800 from the Cedar Finch account right now. Send me the paid-in-full receipt the moment it clears. Unload the truck. The wedding will be perfect. My phone buzzes. Payment received. Thank you. Taylor, you are a lifesaver. We are setting them up now. I save the final invoice. I add it to the evidence folder. The wedding will proceed. Flawlessly. With every single flower she demanded and I paid for. The last piece falls into place an hour later. A text from Kenji, the videographer, as his team begins to load in. Kenji. Hey, producer. We're setting up the mics. Just to confirm, we are miking the groom, the officiant, and tapping the main soundboard. We will be capturing all room audio for the ceremony and reception. Is that correct? He's asking if I want the ambient sound, the whispers. The guest reactions, the arguments. My reply is simple. Yes, keep it rolling. Kenji, capture everything. Thank you. The cameras are set. The audio is live. The trap is baited. The guests are on their way. The Mountain View Glasshouse is a tomb of potential. Hours before the first guest arrives, the air is still, cool, and smells of industrial cleaning solution and the faint, green perfume of eucalyptus from the incoming floral buckets. My command center is a 6-foot table draped in black, tucked into an alcove behind the main bar, invisible to the floor, but with a perfect line of sight to the tech booth and the ceremony dais. My laptop is open, my headset is charging, and in front of me is the binder. It's 1 inch thick, heavy, and bound in plain black. The cover sheet, visible through the clear plastic sleeve, contains only 2 words in a clean, 24-point font, "Who paid?" I open it. This is not an act of anger. It is a final systems check. Every document in this binder is a paper cut, small and precise, invisible on its own, but together, they are designed to bleed. The first tab is Insurance. I tap the crisp sheet, the Certificate of Insurance, policy number ending in 881. It lists a $5 million general liability coverage. The primary insured Cedar Finch Events, LLC. The additional insured Mountain View Glasshouse. There are no other names. Legally, Meredith Grant is just a guest at my event. My liability, my rules. The second tab, Venue. The 40-page master contract. I flip directly to Addendum B. Clause 12.2. The clause I insisted on. Primary payer Cedar Finch Events, LLC, retains final approval authority over any and all day of logistical, technical, and scheduling changes. Her title of bride gives her the spotlight, but my status as payer gives me the switch. The third tab, Vendor Contracts. I run my thumb over the stack. Every single one, from the string quartet to the lighting technician, is countersigned by me. I stop at the invoice for the wedding cake. It's a masterpiece of sugar and buttercream, modeled after a photo Meredith had torn from a magazine. The full price is listed, but at the bottom, there is a line item, 40% industry courtesy, discount Cedar Finch Events. Below that, a handwritten note from the baker. Thanks for the continued partnership. Taylor. Meredith has been telling her friends she talked them down on the price. The paper shows the truth. My professional relationship subsidized her arrogance. Then I get to the appendix. This is the part I assembled with surgical care. The tab is labeled Requests by M. Fisher. This section is my masterpiece of meticulous accounting. It contains every single email and text message where Meredith attempted to overrule the budget, always with the assumption that my father would just quietly absorb the cost. Exhibit A. The email chain from Epicurean Catering. Meredith Fisher called our office, requesting an upgrade from the approved Prosecco to Veuve Clicquot. This will add approximately $3,000. My reply. Approved. Invoice, Cedar Finch Events. Exhibit B. The invoice from Boulder Blooms. A supplemental charge of $2,800 for the 6 oversized aisle arrangements she demanded, and for which she stiffed the florist this morning. My wire confirmation is attached. Time-stamped 8:02 a.m. Today, Exhibit C. The email from Marcus, the band leader. Hi, producer. Meredith stopped by during soundcheck and requested we replace the third song with a new pop track. Please confirm this change. My reply, sent just 1 hour ago. Negative. Marcus, stick to the approved set list. All changes must come through me. Her requests, my approvals, her fantasy, my bank account. The next tab is banking. This one is colder. This is the printout from my business bank's fraud department. It shows the secure message, supplementary card issued to Meredith Fisher. It shows the charge $9,000 at Belle Lure Bridal, and below it, the verification data used to authorize the card, the phone number provided during the televerification. I have cross-referenced it. It is the same personal cell phone number Meredith listed on the catering contract as her primary contact. It is a clean, undeniable line connecting her directly to the fraud. I flip the page. Media contracts, the Cinema Verve agreement. I trace the words of Clause 4, the one I had their legal team add. All unedited raw footage, B-roll, and associated audio files, including all captured ambient audio, shall be the exclusive intellectual property of the primary payer Cedar Finch Events for personal and promotional use. Kenji and his team are not just videographers, they are my sworn depositions. They are, at this very moment, capturing every set-up conversation, every hushed whisper. They own the footage of my father's pre-ceremony interview, the one I scheduled, where I know he was asked, "What do you want to say to your daughter, Taylor, today?" I own the rights to his answer. I moved to AV Technical, the spec sheet for the sound and lighting board. It's a beautiful system, and as of 7 a.m. this morning, it is locked tighter than a drum. I review the fail-safe protocol I confirmed with Kyle and the tech lead. Ben, if any unauthorized user attempts to shut down the presentation, if Meredith, in a panic, orders a technician to cut the screens, the entire system will default to a locked-out state. It cannot be rebooted. It cannot be changed. It cannot be turned off. Without the producer's 6-digit master PIN, my PIN, the show will go on exactly as I have scheduled it. The last tab in the binder is the thinnest. It is labeled PR versus Fax. It contains only 2 documents. The first is the screenshot of the wedding invitation I was never sent. The second is a printout of the gushing email Meredith sent to the entire 200-person guest list last week. Aunt Diane had forwarded it to me with the simple note, "You should see this." I read the highlighted paragraph again. "Graham and I are just so thrilled and proud to finally share this day with you all. It has been a true labor of love, and we are so humbled to have built this entire celebration with our own 2 hands, from the first idea to the last perfect detail. We can't wait for you to see what we created." Her lie, in print, my binder, the $200,000 truth, sits heavy in my lap. My phone buzzes. It's on my specified Do Not Disturb mode, so I know it's one of the 5 people on my approved list. I check the screen. It's my father. His text message is weak, laced with the anxiety of a man who knows he is standing on a trap door. "Are you sure tonight will be okay? Taylor, things feel tense." He's not asking if I am okay. He's not apologizing for the exclusion, the humiliation, the smear campaign. He is asking me to be quiet. He is asking me to make his day okay by absorbing the loss, just as I have been trained to do my entire life. He wants me to eat the cost, smile, and protect his fantasy. I look at the binder. I look at the text. I type back a single, truthful sentence. I will be there on time. I won't be there as his daughter. I won't be there to make peace. I will be there as the producer, and I will be on time for my cue. I close the black binder. The snap of the 3 rings echoes in the quiet hall. It is a finite, mechanical sound. I slide the binder into my backpack, which I place by the leg of my command table. Next, I take the encrypted USB drive, Ceremony V3, from my pocket. I plug it into the master AV laptop, checking the playlist one last time. All tracks are correct. Track 7. Father-Daughter Alt is ready. I eject the drive and place it next to my laptop. Finally, I pull a single, clean, white business envelope from my bag. Inside, I have already placed a one-page, itemized summary of the entire event cost. It is not the messy, detailed binder of proofs. It is a clean, simple, brutal invoice. It lists every vendor, every upgrade requested by M. Fisher, the fraudulent $9,000 charge, and the grand total at the bottom. I lick the envelope and seal it. I write nothing on the outside. The binder is the evidence. The USB is the soundtrack. And this envelope, this is the bill. The paper cuts are all laid out. The doors open in 1 hour. The late afternoon Colorado sky was a sheet of dry, hard blue. The sun, dropping toward the mountains, hit the glass walls of the hotel and shattered into a million points of metallic gold. It was beautiful, sterile, and cold. I walked through the automatic front doors, my black boots silent on the polished marble floor. The lobby buzzed with the manufactured warmth of a high-end event. Guests in cocktail attire were already gathering, their voices high and bright. A string quartet. My string quartet, the one I had booked 9 months ago, was playing softly in the mezzanine. I bypassed the guests and walked directly to the welcome table. It was draped in the champagne gold sequined tablecloth Meredith had insisted on, the one that cost $400 to rent. A young woman I didn't recognize, wearing a hotel blazer and a clipboard, smiled at me. "Welcome to the Fisher Grant wedding. May I have your name?" "Please, Taylor Fisher," I said. Her smile remained fixed, but her eyes were blank. She scanned the glossy, printed guest list. Her finger ran down the F column. It stopped. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice dropping into a polite, rehearsed apology. "I don't seem to have a Taylor Fisher on the list." "I know," I said. I unzipped the side pocket of my backpack. I didn't pull out the binder. I didn't need to. I pulled out a single, tri-folded document. "I'm the producer," I said, handing her the paper. She unfolded it, her eyes scanning the dense text. It was the certificate of insurance, the COI. Her eyes widened slightly as they registered the $5 million liability coverage. She saw the policyholder name, Cedar Finch Events, LLC. She saw the event title, Fisher Grant Wedding. She saw the name of the insured producer on site, Taylor Fisher. She looked up, her professional smile gone, replaced by genuine confusion. I don't understand," the mother of the bride said. "Could you please get the front-of-house manager?" I said. It was not a question. A man in a sharp black suit materialized at her shoulder. I recognized him from Kyle's team. David. He saw me and his entire demeanor changed. "Ms. Fisher," he said, with a nod of recognition that was almost a salute. "We were expecting you at the service entrance." "David," I said, "I'm coming in the front. This attendant needs clarification on the access list." David glanced at the COI in the woman's hand, then at the guest list. He sighed, a tiny, professional puff of air. "Thank you. Sarah, I'll take it from here." He turned to me. He reached under his desk and pulled out a small, black paper wristband. "Your producer credentials, ma'am," he said. He wrapped the band around my wrist. The adhesive sealing with a quiet rip. It wasn't satin. It wasn't gold. It was functional. It was black. It meant I had access to every lock, every room, every network. "What is going on here?" Meredith's voice cut through the lobby. She swept toward us. She was wearing a cream-colored silk jumpsuit, her hair and makeup flawless. She looked every inch the radiant, wealthy bride. She was followed by Tiffany, who was already frowning, her eyes glued to her phone. Meredith didn't look at me. She directed her fury at David. "I gave explicit instructions to the staff," she said, her voice low and tight. "This woman is not a guest. She is not welcome here. She is to be removed." David did not flinch. He stood at his full height. His voice was perfectly level, pleasant, and as hard as the marble floor. "Good evening, Ms. Grant, I'm afraid that's not possible. Excuse me. Meredith's voice went sharp. I am the bride. That is my wedding. You will do as I say. Ma'am, David said, his patience clearly manufactured. As per the master contract for the event, Ms. Fisher is the producer of record. Her company, Cedar Finch Events, is the primary payer and the sole insurance policyholder for this entire function. Meredith stared at him. The words primary payer and policyholder hung in the air, alien and hostile. I don't care what some paper says, she hissed. She is not invited. With respect, David continued, his voice chilling. Her invitation is irrelevant. Our contract, and our hotel's insurance, requires the producer to be on site to oversee all technical and logistical operations. Ms. Fisher has contractual access to all areas, including this lobby and the audio-visual booth. If she is removed, I will be forced to shut down the event. Silence. A few guests had turned to watch. Meredith's face was a mask of pure, white-hot rage. Her smile was gone. Her eyes were slits. She knew she had lost. This was a language she did not speak. Social pressure, emotional blackmail, rumors that was her territory, contracts, insurance, liability. This was mine. Mommy, Tiffany whined, finally looking up from her phone. She tugged on Meredith's silk-clad arm. Mom, Kenji is waiting. He needs the first look with Dad shot right now, or the light will be gone. He's mad. Meredith was trapped. The performance of the perfect day, the schedule she had memorized, was pulling her one way. The reality of her failed coup was holding her here. The performance won. It always did. She shot me a look of such venom, such unadulterated hatred, that it was almost impressive. It was a promise that this was not over. She turned, her jumpsuit swirling, and stormed off toward the bridal suite, Tiffany trailing in her wake. This is ridiculous, she threw over her shoulder. Absolutely ridiculous. I watched her go. I turned back to David. Thank you. David, please ensure your team knows. No cues from the bridal party. Everything goes through me, as per the contract. Yes, producer, he said. I adjusted the black wristband. I walked past the check-in table, past the towering, perfect floral arrangement I had paid for that morning, and through the service door that led to the back of house. The noise of the lobby vanished. I was in the cool, quiet, fluorescent-lit corridor of the event space. I walked up a flight of metal stairs and entered the AV booth. It was dark, high above the main floor, overlooking the entire, empty, perfect room. The glass wall in front of me gave me a god's eye view. The soundboard, 2 production laptops, and the lighting console glowed with a soft, steady constellation of green, red, and blue lights. Ben, the lead tech, sat in the main chair. He saw me and tapped his headset. Producer on deck, he said into his mic. Hey, Taylor, we're all patched. Ready for your checks. I dropped my backpack. I stood next to him, my hands landing on the smooth, cool plastic of the main audio board. My heart was perfectly, wonderfully calm. The fury was gone. The hurt was gone. There was only the show. This was my cockpit. Let's run the mics, Ben, I said, my voice crisp in the small, dark room. Roger, efficient mic is hot. I toggled the fader. Check. Groom's lapel. Sure. Groom's lapel. Check. Podium. Podium is hot. Check. I moved to the next console. Main presentation screen. Sync to my feed. Ben typed a command. The massive LED wall behind the ceremony dais, which had been showing Meredith's static logo, flickered and changed. It now mirrored my laptop screen. Feed is primary, he said. You have the con? My phone, in its protected exception mode, buzzed. A message in the Bridal Dream Team vendor chat. It was Marcus, the band leader. Doors at 18:45. Guests are in the foyer. We are standby. I typed my reply. Confirmed. Stand by for cue. Welcome. Let's give them a good show. Team. I looked at the glowing screens. I looked at the empty chairs, the perfect flowers, the stage set for a lie. I took the encrypted USB drive. Ceremony V3. From my pocket, I slotted it into the master laptop. The drive light blinked. A small window popped up on the screen. The playlist loaded. The tracks were all there. Track 01, Prelude. Track 02, Processional, and track 07, Father-Daughter. Alt. The system was armed. The doors were opening. The trap was set. From the AV booth, the room was a masterpiece of my own design. 200 guests, seated at tables draped in ivory linen, their faces lit by the thousands of tiny fairy lights I had personally specified. Strung through the rafters like a galaxy of captured stars, the air was still, pregnant with anticipation, smelling of the white peonies and gardenias that formed the massive, perfect archway at the front of the room. The arch I had paid for twice once on the contract, and again that morning. It was flawless. Every dollar, every fight, every bit of swallowed pride was visible in the perfection of the scene. On my headset, I heard the clipped, professional voice of David, the front-of-house manager. House is full. Producer, we are green for ceremony. I tapped Ben, the lead technician, on the shoulder. Kill the walk-in music. Cue lights alpha. I'm starting the prelude. Ben's fingers moved over the console. The ambient jazz faded to silence. The house lights dimmed to a warm, intimate amber, and the spotlights on the floral arch brightened, drawing every eye to the stage. A perfect, manufactured hush fell over the crowd. I pressed the cue for track 01 on my laptop. The first, pure notes of the string quartet swelled through the speakers, clean, crisp, perfectly mixed. I slid the fader up, just a fraction, letting the cello's resonance fill the room, then eased it back. It was a controlled, calculated breath. Down below, the MC, a local radio personality Meredith had hired for his charming voice, stepped to the podium. His suit was immaculate. "Good evening, everyone," he said, his voice amplified perfectly by the microphone I had tested 3 times. "Welcome to the magical evening celebrating Graham and Meredith." The bridal party was in place. My father stood at the front, looking pale and stiff in his tuxedo, and beside him, Meredith. She was a vision. She was radiant. She was playing the role of her life. As the music I chose swelled, she turned to my father and placed her hand on his arm. It was a gesture meant to look supportive, but it was pure, unadulterated possession. Her smile was fixed, bright, and proprietary. It was the smile of someone who believes they have crafted everything from scratch, the smile of someone who has won. The MC continued, his voice dripping with saccharine sincerity. It is a rare thing to find a love this true. As he droned on, I saw my father's gaze lift. He wasn't looking at his bride. He wasn't looking at the crowd. His eyes were scanning the back of the room, searching the shadows, the walls. He was looking for me. He was looking for the daughter he had been told was too unstable to attend. His eyes passed over the dark glass of the AV booth, then snapped back. He squinted, trying to pierce the reflection. He saw my silhouette. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I simply raised my hand. A small, 2-inch acknowledgement from the darkness. I am here. I am on time. I saw his shoulders slump, a visible flinch of guilt, before he forced his attention back to the stage. He was a man performing a role, just like everyone else. The officiant took the podium. We are gathered here to celebrate a bond built not just on love, but on shared creation. He was reading from the script that Meredith had emailed me, the one I was supposed to have printed for him. What makes this day so truly unique, so special, he read, his voice swelling, is the care that went into it. Graham and Meredith, with their own 2 hands, have built this magical world for us. They created every detail, pouring their hearts into this perfect celebration for you all. As the officiant said the words, "created every detail," Meredith turned her head. She didn't look at my father. She didn't look at the guests. She looked directly into the lens of Kenji's main camera, Camera 1. I watched her on my high-definition monitor. It was a perfect, tight shot. She held the gaze, her smile beatific, angelic. She was claiming it. She was claiming the flowers, the lights, the music, the $200,000 bill. She was cementing her lie on video for all time. It was the most audacious, breathtaking performance I had ever witnessed. I glanced at the digital clock on my console. The red numerals glowed, 18:45. Right on schedule. My part of the performance began, across the room, on 200 tables, at 200 place settings, sat the small, elegant menu cards. On the back of each card was the QR code. The guests had been seated for 15 minutes. The ceremony was underway. People were beginning to idly check their phones, silencing them, putting them away. But some were curious. Some were scanning the code, believing it led to the honeymoon donation fund Meredith had wanted. The web page I had built, the one linked to that code, had just switched from private to public. The trap was sprung. From my high vantage point, I saw it happen. I saw it not as a sound, but as a change in the light. One phone screen lit up in the middle of the room. A guest, an older man I didn't recognize, looking at his phone, then another, and another. A man in the third row, one of my father's oldest business partners, leaned over to his wife. He pointed at his screen. She took out her own phone. The whispers began. At first, it was imperceptible, just a faint rustle under the officiant's words, but I could see the shift. I saw heads turn, not to the stage, but to each other, confusion on their faces. More people were picking up the cards, scanning the codes. The murmur spread, moving through the crowd like a current. The ambient room mics, the ones Kenji had placed, began to pick it up. The sound fed into my headset. A quiet, growing static of voices. "What is Cedar Finch?" A woman near the back. "Wait, isn't that Taylor's company? Taylor Fisher? It says primary underwriter. What does that mean?" "Producer Taylor Fisher." The room was no longer silent. The energy had fractured. The focus was off the stage. The masks were tilting. The guests were not looking at the bride. They were looking at their phones. And then, they were looking at each other. And then, they were looking for my father, on the dais. Meredith felt it. The wave of pure, focused adoration she had been basking in had just evaporated. The air in the room had changed. She sensed the distraction. Her smile tightened. A flicker of annoyance. She looked out, as if to shush the crowd with her gaze. Tiffany, in the front row, was, of course, already on her phone. She scanned the code. I watched her face on my monitor. Her vapid boredom dissolved into confusion, then into pure, stark panic. She looked up, her eyes wide, and stared directly at her mother. Meredith saw her daughter's expression. The color drained from her face. Her hand, the one not clutching my father's arm, balled into a fist. She knew. She didn't know how, but she knew. She knew I was here. She knew I had done something. She stood frozen. Her angelic smile warped into a horrifying rictus of suppressed rage. My father, oblivious, was still trying to focus on the officiant. He only noticed the change when his best man, standing beside him, shifted on his feet. Then he saw his friend, his oldest friend from college, in the front row, pull out his own phone, scan the code, and turn to stare at my dad with an expression of profound, open-mouthed confusion. My father frowned. He slipped his own phone from his tuxedo pocket. I watched him unlock the screen. I watched him open his camera. I watched him scan the QR code on the small program resting on the officiant's podium. The one I had the florist place there an hour ago. The web page loaded. He froze. He read the words, "A special thank you to the sponsor's production team." He read the line, Primary underwriter event production. He read my name. Producer Taylor Fisher. His shoulders went rigid. He lifted his head, his gaze sweeping the room, no longer searching, but hunting. He looked past the guests, past the lights, and his eyes locked directly onto mine in the booth. His face was chalk white. His eyes were wide with a dawning, horrified understanding. He understood. He understood the screenshots. He understood the pie chart. He understood the producer title. He understood the 98%. He understood the lie he had been standing next to. I met his gaze. I held it. I did not look away. The officiant, sensing he had lost the room entirely, was stammering. He stumbled over the word commitment. The ceremony, the perfect performance of masks, had ground to a halt. The air was thick with questions. The MC, panicking at the dead air, leaped forward. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend, he said, his voice too loud, too cheerful, trying to reclaim the moment. And now, we will move to the welcome slides, a special presentation from the happy couple. He was ad-libbing. He was skipping 3 pages in the script. On my headset, Ben, the tech, whispered, "What the hell is going on? Producer, the room is electric. What did that QR code do?" "It told the truth," I said. I looked at my production schedule. The ceremony was over, but the night was just beginning. "He just called my next cue," I said into my mic, my voice perfectly steady. "Stand by on the welcome slides. Fading ceremony. Go to presentation." The next act was about to begin. The MC's voice was a desperate, cheerful noise, a fire alarm trying to pretend it was a dinner bell. "And now, we will move to the welcome slides, a special presentation from the happy couple." He had panicked, skipped 3 pages of his script, and called my cue. He had just handed me the controls, on my headset. Ben, the lead tech, was all business. "Producer, that's your cue. Welcome slides. Do I advance?" My father was still standing on the dais, locked in place, staring up at me. His face was a white mask of disbelief. Beside him, Meredith was vibrating, her hand gripping his arm so tightly her knuckles were white. She thought the QR code was the end of it. She thought the whispers were the extent of my power. "Yes, Ben," I said. My voice was calm, clear, and cold. "Advance the cue." My finger clicked the mouse. The feed was mine. The 30-foot LED wall, the backdrop for their entire ceremony, flickered. The soft focus, romantic photo of Meredith and my father vanished. The first slide appeared. It was professional, elegant, and perfectly standard. Thank you to our creative partners. The logos for the florist, the caterer, the venue, and the musicians began a slow, graceful scroll. Boulder Blooms, Epicurean Catering, Mountain View Glasshouse, Strings of the Rockies. The tension in the room eased. Just a fraction. This was normal. This was expected. Down on the stage, I saw Meredith let out a short, sharp breath. She relaxed. She thought she had won. She thought my little digital stunt was over. She shot a look of pure, triumphant hatred toward the darkness of the booth. The scroll of logos finished. The slide held for 3 seconds. I pressed the button again. The next slide faded in. It was not a photo. It was not a logo. It was a document. It was designed in the same clean, minimalist font as the wedding invitation. Black text on a stark, ivory background. The title was large and impossible to miss. Event credits. Acknowledgements. A record of payment insurance for the Fisher Grant wedding. The room went utterly silent. The air was sucked out of it. 200 guests read the words at the same time. I saw people lean forward, their eyes squinting. Down below, I heard a sharp, choked gasp. It was Meredith. I advanced the slide. The first line of text appeared. Item 1 Venue Location Services Mountain View Glasshouse. Purchase order. 45A882 status. Paid in full. Payer of record Cedar Finch Events, LLC. A low murmur started. I heard Aunt Diane whisper, Cedar Finch. That's Taylor's company. I advanced the slide. Item 2, catering beverage. Epicurean Catering, initial contract paid in full, Cedar Finch. Events LLC. Supplemental charge. Veuve Clicquot. Upgrade, $3,000. Status. Requested by M. Fisher. Approved, paid by producer. The murmur grew louder. Requested by Mum Fisher, a man in the front row said, his voice carrying. I thought that was a gift. My father's best man turned and looked, not at me, but at my father, his face a mask of confusion. My dad looked like he had been struck. He remembered his text. He remembered the lie. I advanced the slide. Item 3, event liability. Insurance policy number GGL5M 881 coverage, $5 million, primary insured Cedar. Finch Events, LLC. Producer, additional insured Mountain View Glasshouse Venue. The business people in the crowd understood this one instantly. The legal and financial responsibility for every person in that room rested on my shoulders. I was not a guest. I was the house. The whispers were now a rising tide of noise. My God, she paid for it. Taylor paid for everything. What is going on? I advanced the slide. The final item, item 4. Audio, visual, technical. Production, Apex AV. Contract status. Paid in full Cedar Finch Events, LLC. Technical control, all lighting, audio, and presentation cues secured. Authorization producer PIN auth required. The subtext was clear, I am in control of what you are seeing. The room had dissolved. The narrative she had spent 6 months building of the loving bride who did it all herself and the unstable daughter who was causing drama had just been dismantled in 4 bullet points. The guests were no longer looking at the screen. They were turning in their seats. They were looking at Meredith. They were looking at her with pity, with contempt, with dawning, horrified understanding. I wasn't finished. I advanced the cue one last time. A single line of text appeared at the very bottom of the screen. The footer. It read, Display of primary sponsor and payer acknowledgments is required, as per Clause 7.4 of all vendor and venue contracts. This was not an attack. This was a legal obligation. I wasn't getting revenge. I was, as the producer, simply fulfilling the terms of my agreements. I had weaponized the fine print. That's when she broke. No. Her voice was a raw shriek, amplified by the podium microphone I had left live. A spike of feedback whined through the room. Shut it off. She was no longer the blushing bride. She was a cornered animal. She pointed, not at me, but at Ben, the technician, who was clearly visible in the booth beside me. You tech guy. Turn it off now. I order you to shut it off. The entire room went silent, watching the meltdown. Kenji's camera. I saw on my monitor, zoomed in, capturing every second. Ben, a consummate professional, did not touch a single fader. He tapped his headset, as if listening for instructions. He looked down at Meredith, his expression one of polite confusion. I can't, ma'am. His voice boomed through the speakers, amplified for all to hear. The system is locked. What do you mean it's locked? She screamed, her voice cracking. I am the bride, turn it off. Ben looked at me. I gave him the slightest, slowest nod. He leaned into his own microphone. The console is requesting a producer PIN authorization to override the presentation schedule. I'm afraid I don't have that code. Her head snapped up, her eyes, wide and black with panic, finally found me in the darkness of the booth. You, she screamed, a sound that barely sounded human. You bitch. You are ruining my wedding. She lunged, as if to storm the booth herself. But my father's hand shot out and clamped down on her arm. His grip was not gentle. Meredith, he said, his voice dead. Stop. Just stop. The guests were standing now. Phones were out. The perfect wedding was now a public spectacle, a raw, exposed wound. I had them. I had the proof, I had the witnesses, and now I had the confession. Kenji's cameras had captured her reaction, her fury, her undeniable guilt. I didn't need to show them the fraudulent $9,000 charge. I didn't need to show them the binder. The ledger had done its work. I had been surgical. Now, it was time to be merciful. My finger moved to the next cue button. I pressed it. Instantly, the screen went blank. The damning list of invoices and contracts vanished, replaced by a single, serene, blank ivory slide, the exact same color as her wedding dress. The room held its breath. I had shown them who held the power. I had shown them who could turn the lights on and who could turn them off. I leaned into my own private microphone, the one that fed only to the MC's earpiece. "Breathe," I said. "Now, introduce the bridal party for the reception. Stick to the script." The MC, who was pale and sweating, fumbled with his index cards. He looked at the blank, peaceful screen, then at Meredith, who was hyperventilating on the stage, held in place by my father's grip. He stammered, looking out at the sea of shocked faces. I had not raised my voice. I had not shed a tear. I had not said a word to the audience, and I had told them everything. The blank ivory screen was a ceasefire. The silence it created was louder than any music, more damning than any accusation. The guests were frozen, a sea of 200 statues, their faces a mixture of shock, confusion, and a new, dawning, electric awareness. Then the MC, his voice cracking from a combination of panic and my own direct feed to his earpiece, spoke into the void. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, his cheerfulness grotesque. "It seems we are having a very brief 5-minute technical pause. Please, the bar is officially open. We will resume in just 5 minutes." This was the signal. The music swelled a generic, upbeat jazz I hadn't chosen, but it was perfect in its banality. It was the sound of a system trying to reboot, to cover the wound. The guests, grateful for a command, began to stand, their voices erupting into a furious, collective whisper. But Meredith wasn't looking at the guests. She was looking at the booth. The mask of the bride was gone. The angelic, beatific smile had been ripped away, and what was left was pure, unadulterated acid. She was no longer performing. "You." Her shriek cut through the jazz. She had wrenched her arm free of my father's grip. She wasn't gliding. She was stalking. She shoved past a startled guest, her ivory dress tangling in a chair, and made a direct line for the AV booth at the back of the room. "You ruined it. You ruined my wedding." I stepped out of the booth, my backpack in hand, and met her in the narrow corridor just as she arrived. Her face was inches from mine, contorted, ugly with rage. You little bitch, I will have you arrested." 2 uniformed hotel security guards, who had been subtly monitoring the exits, moved to intercept her, but Kyle, the hotel's general manager, was already there. He put himself physically between us, his body a solid wall in a dark suit. "Ms. Grant," he said, his voice quiet but carrying the absolute authority of the house. "You need to lower your voice." "She destroyed my wedding," Meredith screamed, pointing a finger at my face. "I want her gone. I want her arrested for sabotage." I ignored her. I looked past her shoulder to Kyle. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the single, sealed, white business envelope. "Kyle," I said, my voice as calm as if I were checking out. "This is the final, itemized bill. It details all supplemental charges requested by Ms. Grant that were not part of the base contract paid by Cedar Finch Events. As you can see, her signature is on the hard copy approvals for the upgrades." Kyle took the envelope. He didn't open it. He just held it. Meredith stared at the envelope. "What? What bill? I didn't approve anything. She's lying." "That's not true, ma'am," Kyle said, his voice flat. "I just reviewed the contract addendums with my catering director, as per Clause 12.2 of the event agreement. Any and all charges supplemental to the base package are the direct, personal financial responsibility of the party who requested them. He held the envelope up slightly. The primary payer, Cedar Finch Events, has paid the base contract in full. This supplemental bill for the champagne, the floral upgrades, and the rental add-ons is yours. It's due upon receipt. She was no longer just a liar. She was a debtor. "Graham!" she shrieked, turning. My father was standing right behind her. He hadn't rushed. He had walked, slowly, deliberately, as if wading through deep water. His face was ashen. He looked 10 years older than he had an hour ago. "Graham, she's lying. She's trying to extort us. Tell him." My father just stared at her. His voice was a dry rasp, so quiet I could barely hear it. "Meredith, what is he talking about? What upgrades you told me? You told me you handled everything. You told me the caterer gave us the champagne as a gift." Tiffany had trailed behind him, her face puffy and red, her phone clutched in her hand. "Mom," she whimpered. "What's going on? Why did the website say Producer Taylor Fisher? Who is that?" "She is no one," Meredith snapped, her head whipping between them, her story fragmenting. She's jealous. She's just trying to steal credit for my day. She's mad she wasn't invited. She snatched a place card from the nearest table and threw it at my feet. See, she's not even on the list." My father's gaze lifted from her to me. His eyes were desperate. He was begging me, with one last, pathetic look, to make this go away, to tell him it was a misunderstanding, to protect his fantasy. I said nothing. I unzipped my backpack. I pulled out the 1-inch, black binder, the one with the clean, white cover. Who paid? I held it out. Not to Kyle, not to Meredith, to my father. "Here is the drama, Dad," I said, my voice flat. "Here is the negative energy. Here is the unstable daughter you were warned about." He took the binder. His hand was shaking. The plastic cover crackled. He opened it. I watched him read. I saw his eyes scan the first page, the $5 million insurance policy in my company's name. He flipped the page. The venue contract. "Payer of record Cedar Finch Events, LLC." He flipped again, his movements becoming jerky. He landed on the Requests by M. Fisher tab. He saw the email. Meredith Fisher called, requesting an upgrade, Veuve Clicquot. He saw the invoice. Supplemental floral, requested by M. Fisher. His breathing was shallow. He knew. It was all true, but he hadn't reached the end. He flipped one more page, landing on the tab marked Banking. I knew the exact moment he saw it. His whole body went rigid. His gasp was a choked, silent thud. He was staring at the printout from my bank's fraud department. He was staring at the line, "Supplementary card issued to Meredith Fisher." He was staring at the charge, $9,000, Belle Lure Bridal. He was staring at the verification data, her personal cell phone number. He looked up from the page. His eyes, when they met hers, were no longer confused. They were dead. "The dress," he whispered. Meredith's face went white. "The dress," he repeated, his voice shaking with a terrible, quiet coldness. You told me your sister bought you the dress. As a gift. You cried. You said how moved you were." "Graham." "No," she stammered, finally seeing the trap she was in. She lunged for the binder, trying to claw it out of his hands. "It's fake. She faked all of it. She's a graphic designer. She faked those papers. It's just paper." "It's not all paper, Meredith," I said. I pulled out my phone. I pressed play. The tinny digital recording sliced through the air. The sound was unmistakable. Call center voice. "And can you please state your full name and date of birth for verification?" Her voice. The fake, high. Professional one. "Yes, Taylor Ann Fisher. Date of birth, May 4th, 1992. Meredith froze. Her hand, which had been grabbing for the binder, stopped in midair. Call center voice. Thank you, Ms. Fisher, and you are authorizing a supplementary card for Meredith Fisher, correct? Her voice. Yes, that's right. She's my new COO. Just send it to the address on file. The recording clicked off. Silence. My father stared at her. He recognized that voice. He had heard her use that exact saccharine, all-business tone 1,000 times when she was trying to get her way. He knew. It was not a lie. It was a felony. Kyle, who had observed every second, did not move. He simply raised his left hand, a subtle, quiet signal to the 2 guards standing by the main doors. He gave a single, slow tap to his earpiece. They didn't approach. They just watched. They were no longer security. They were witnesses. The silence was a vacuum, waiting to be filled. The MC, bless his terrified, script-reading heart, filled it. His voice, amplified, boomed over the speakers again, cutting into our small, private hell. All right, folks, we are almost ready. Just a moment longer. Thank you for your patience. What a night. The room was held its breath. The party was frozen. The lie was exposed. The bill was on the table, and the real show was about to begin. The MC's voice was still echoing. A phantom cheer in a room struck silent. The 5-minute technical pause had stretched into an eternity. My father stood there, the black binder, my ledger open in his trembling hands. He was staring at the printout of the fraudulent credit card authorization. He looked at Meredith, her face a mask of exposed rage, and then he looked at me, his daughter, standing in the cold corridor, the producer who had just presented her final invoice. The air was so thick with unsaid things, it was hard to breathe. The guests were a silent, watchful jury. Kyle, the manager, and his guards were a quiet, menacing perimeter. Meredith, my father, and I were trapped in this bubble of truth. My father's gaze on Meredith was dead. The love, the adoration, the willful blindness, it was all gone, burned away by the acid of the truth. He looked at her as if she were a stranger, a con artist who had been living in his house. Graham, she tried again, her voice a desperate, wheedling thing, a complete shift from the shriek seconds before. Graham, darling, listen to me. She's twisting it. She's mentally unwell. We knew this. We talked about this. She's jealous. She's trying to destroy us. My father didn't even look at her. He just closed the binder. The thud of the cover was the only sound. He held the binder to his chest, like a piece of evidence he was protecting. He turned his back on her. He turned his back on his bride. And he looked at me. His eyes were filled, not with anger, but with a profound, suffocating shame. He saw me, really saw me, for the first time in years, not as a problem to be managed, not as a difficult child, but as his daughter, the one who had just ensured, produced, and paid for the entire spectacle of his humiliation. I felt the last of my cold, professional armor crack. This was the moment. This was the endgame. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the lies. It was about this. Him. Me. My hand went to my laptop, still open on the console behind me in the booth. My fingers found the mouse. I clicked on track 07. Father-daughter alt. I hit play. The abrasive, panicked jazz cut out. Silence. Then, a new sound swelled to fill the room. It was not a pop song. It was not a loud, celebratory track. It was the simple, clean, acoustic opening of a James Taylor song, the one he used to play on his old guitar in the kitchen, the one I hadn't heard in 20 years. It was just a guitar, warm and clear. As the music began, my other hand moved to the lighting console. I brought down the harsh, bright house lights. I faded out the spotlights on the stage, plunging the now ruined floral arch into shadow. I brought up a single, soft, warm spotlight, not on the stage, not on the dance floor, on the small, empty patch of marble floor right where my father and I stood, in the corridor between the world and the booth. The entire room, 200 guests, watched on the massive 30-foot LED screen. The blank ivory slide faded. A new slide, with one single sentence, faded in. It was in the same elegant script as the invitations. It read, "I sponsored this for your happiness. Dad, not for anyone's humiliation." My father read the words on the screen. He listened to the music, our music. He took one step toward me, and then another. He walked slowly, deliberately, his back still to the woman he was supposed to marry. He stopped 1 foot away from me, standing in the center of the soft, warm light. He held the black binder in one hand. He held out his other hand to me. The room was so quiet, I could hear the hum of the amplifiers. "Taylor," he said, his voice thick, breaking. His eyes were wet. "If you'll have me, I'd like to have this dance, right now." This was it. This was the choice. Not to forgive, not to forget, but to connect. Before I could move, a raw shriek came from behind him. She wasn't invited. Meredith had lunged for the MC's podium. She had snatched the live microphone. Her voice, distorted with rage, boomed through the speakers, shattering the delicate moment. "You can't! She is not a guest. My hand, already on the audio board, found the fader for the podium mic. I slammed it down. Her voice cut off instantly. I watched her on the monitor, still screaming into a dead piece of metal. Her face purple, her perfect makeup ruined by tears of rage. She looked insane, a silent movie of a collapse. My father, who had not even flinched, turned his head, just slightly. He looked back at his bride. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He simply spoke into the quiet, his voice filled with a new, cold finality. "I'm inviting my daughter." It was a judgment. It was a verdict. It was the sound of a hammer falling. He turned back to me, his hand still outstretched. From the stage, the band leader, Marcus, who had been watching this entire soap opera with his jaw on the floor, heard the acoustic track. He heard the simple, clear melody. He nodded to his bass player, and then to his drummer, softly, perfectly. The live band began to play along with my track, adding a rich, warm, living pulse to the simple guitar. The music swelled, filling the room, washing away the last of Meredith's venom. The guests, as if moved by a single, silent command, began to step back. They parted, their bodies creating a wide, clear circle around us. They cleared the main dance floor, creating a space for us in the center of the room. My father did not let go of the binder. He tucked it under his arm. I stepped forward. I placed my hand on his shoulder. I put my other hand in his, and we stepped out onto the floor. It was not a practice dance. There was no choreography. It was simple. It was honest. We just moved, slowly, in a circle, under the single, warm light, surrounded by the wreckage of my father's wedding. I rested my head on his shoulder, and for the first time, he held me tightly, his hand holding the binder pressing into my back, as if he were holding both the proof of the crime and the victim at the same time. As we completed our first, slow rotation, I looked up at the screen. I had set one final cue, a timed automation. The sentence about my father's happiness faded. A final line of text appeared, a dedication to my team, the ones who had worked in good faith, the ones who had helped me build this perfect, flawed, truthful day. It read, "Thank you to the crew who turned a lie into a perfect wedding with the truth." Across the room, I saw her, Meredith. She was frozen. She was standing alone, just outside the circle of light, the dead microphone clutched in her hand. She was staring at us, every guest, every single one of the 200 people she had invited to witness her triumph, was looking at her. They were watching her. Their faces were not angry. They were not hateful. They were blank. They saw her, a woman who had been so thoroughly, so publicly, so methodically exposed that there was nothing left to say. Her mouth was open, her lips moving, but no sound was coming out. The music swelled, the live band and the recorded track perfectly in sync. My father and I continued to turn, a slow, quiet orbit in the center of the storm. It was the collapse of an old regime, the quiet, undeniable realignment of power. It was over. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'm curious, where are you all listening from? Let's connect and share our thoughts in the comments. Please subscribe to Maya Revenge Stories, like this video, and give us your support by hitting that hype button so more people can hear this story.